All right, team, here is your classwork for Monday, October 5th. You're going to need your notebooks, your ratio packet, calculator, pen or pencil, and then if you are an online student and you got the Monday pickup this morning, you're going to need actually it would have been last week that you had gotten this assignment with the Monday pickup. There's an assignment that's called purchasing a car, and you're gonna need that today. All right, quick reminder, end of the quarter is on Friday, so if you have any questions about your grades or you want to turn something in that's missing or you want to redo something for a better grade, get that done as soon as possible. All right, so what I want you guys to do, we already did that with you. Here we go. I want you to open up your ratios packet to page 15. Page 15 is the one that says simple interest at the top. Okay, so you'll see this diagram with the IPRT. Okay, we're gonna start talking about simple interest. Basically, interest is the amount of money collected or paid for the use of money, right? So if we put money in a bank that collects interest, or we'll go with that example. Let's say we put money in a bank, like a retirement bank account, for example, and you get a certain percent of that money back every year. So we're continually adding on to the amount of money in our bank account without really doing anything. So simple interest can be pretty awesome. On the other hand, it can kind of hurt a little bit if you're doing a loan, right? So like car loans or student loans, right? Interest will actually make you pay more than the original amount when we have things like car loans or student loans. So we're going to be talking about simple interest today. There are different types of interest. There's like compound interest as well, but we'll just be talking about simple interest in this class. You'll talk about compound interest in 9th grade. All right, so simple interest. Simple interest is basically the amount invested or borrowed. So the principal amount is what it's called. The initial, I'm going to add that word in there. The initial amount invested or borrowed. So how much did you put in the bank to start with, or how much did you borrow to start with? You're going to take that amount basically and multiply it by whatever interest rate you're given and multiply it by however long it's been in years. You can calculate this based on like months, weeks, days if you want, but typically, and what we'll talk about today, is time in years. Okay, so if you were to take the amount borrowed or invested, multiply it by the interest rate and the amount of time in years it's been, it will give you the amount of interest earned. Okay, so not the total amount you would have in your bank account or the total amount you would owe, but just the amount that we are adding on to. Okay, so it's kind of like a markup amount. So those are the blanks you should fill in on your paper. Then there's that box that says remember. So this key thing is remember that the interest rate as a percent must be converted to a decimal or a fraction. So this right here, the interest rate, it needs to be in decimal form or fraction form. Generally, you'll be given it in a percent, so you have to change it to a decimal or a fraction. If you don't remember how to do that, we'll just make a quick note, and it might be a good idea to write this down. So percent to decimal. You're going to take your percent and you divide it by 100. For example, if we have, no, let's do 7%. If we have 7%, you would take 7 and divide it by 100, and we would get 0.07. Okay, so quick example on percent to decimal. That will be very useful for this lesson. Okay, so let's go over some examples of simple interest. So this is still on page 15. Okay, we have the example of Louis, or Louise, or however you want to say it, Louis, deposits $500 of his tax refund into an account that earns simple interest. How much interest will his account earn after 4 years at an annual interest rate of 3%? So we're going to walk through this one together. Okay. The important things, the steps that I would take for these types of problems, I wrote down right here. Okay. So the first thing you'd want to do is identify the missing things that we have, or what we do know, right? What we know and what we don't know. Just like we have with all the other word problems we've been dealing with. So you're going to want to identify the interest, right? Interest. The principal amount, so the initial amount deposited or borrowed. The interest rate. And then the amount of time. Okay. And then you would substitute those into the formula and solve. And remember, the formula would be the interest amount equals the principal times the rate, the interest rate in decimal form, times the amount of time. Okay, so let's do this one together. The interest we actually don't know. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want to know. Okay, but we do know let me make that smaller. We do know that he deposited 500, so that's going to be the principal amount, 500. Okay, we do know the interest rate of 3%. And again, we want it in decimal form, right? So if it's 3%, we would take that 3, divide it by 100, just like shown here, and we would get 0.03. So that's the number we're actually going to use in the formula. We do know the time. We have 4 years. Okay, so now we're going to substitute those numbers into our formula. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and do it over here. It is typed up right there, but we'll do it together too. Let me get the yellow. So we want to know interest. We don't know it yet. Okay, next would be our principal. We know our principal amount was 500. Okay, and we would multiply that amount by the rate, the interest rate in decimal form. And we're going to multiply that also by the amount of time given, which is 4 years. Okay, so now we're just going to multiply these things together. 500 times 0.03 times 4. And make sure it's 0.03, not 0.3. Okay, 0.03. What we get when we multiply all those together, I want you to pause and try and do this yourself on your calculator just to make sure you can do it. Okay, so if you do 500 times 0.03 times 4, we're going to get 60. But 60 what? Well, $60. But what does this mean as far as the actual problem goes? Remember, we have Louis who deposited $500 into an account that earns simple interest. We want to know how much interest his account's going to earn after 4 years with an interest rate of 3%. So this answer, the $60 in context, means Louis's account, my bad. Louis's account will earn $60 in interest over 4 years. So without him doing anything, if that $500 just stays there and he earns interest at a rate of 3%, after 4 years, he would have an additional $60 in his account without doing anything. So pretty cool. Interest can be cool if it's in your favor. It's not always in your favor, but in this example, it's great. Okay, so again, this is just basically an example of a markup amount, right? Where we have some percent that we're marking up, some initial amount, right? And we're, in this example, the markup amount would be $60. So that's not the total markup price, right? The markup price would be, well, he earns $60 over 4 years, and the initial amount was 500, so the total amount he would have now would be 560. So this is kind of like the markup amount, right? And that would be like the markup price, the total amount we have after we've added that additional amount. Okay. All right. So there's 4 problems on the back of that page 16. Okay. I want you to try those ones by yourself. So pause the video, try them. Remember, you'll want to identify what you want to know, what you do know out of the interest, the principal, the rate, and time. Okay. And then substitute what you do know into the formula and solve for what you don't know. Okay. So pause the video, do 1 through 4, and then check back here to check your work. All right. I'm going to assume you paused, you did 1 through 4, and now you're just going to check your work. So let's do that. So let's look at number 1. Number 1, we have Mr. Arias, I don't know how to say that. Sure. Has $41,000 in a retirement account that earns 3.25% interest each year. Find the amount earned each year by his investment. Okay, so let's identify the key things. Remember, we want I equals P times R times T. So we don't know I, that's what we're trying to find. We do know the principal amount, so the initial amount in his account, which was $41,000. The rate we do know is 3.25%, but remember we want it in decimal form. So we do 3.25 divided by 100 and get 0.0325. And the time here is each year, so that means for every 1 year. Okay. Now we're going to substitute those numbers into the formula and solve for what we don't know. So we don't know I, we'll leave that as I. The rest we do know. Okay, so we have 41,000 times 0.0325 times 1. If we do that, drum roll, we get the interest amount of $1,332.50. What does that mean in context, though? It would mean that he earns $1,332.50 of interest per year. That's pretty significant. Pretty significant. I would like that. Okay, so there's number 1. If you have any questions about that one, let me know. If not, let's move on to number 2. Check your work on number 2. So here we have Wyatt, who deposited $1,500 into a savings account, and it earned $93.75 in simple interest after 5 years. Find the interest rate on Wyatt's savings account. So this one's slightly different. We're still using the same formula. Okay, so let's identify what we know. and what we don't know. In this case, we actually do know the interest earned. So it's $93.75. The principal amount was $1,500. The interest rate is actually what we want to know. So we don't know it yet. The time we do know was 5 years. Okay, so if we substitute those things into our formula, we would get 9370. That was a weird decimal. 75 equals 1,500 times 5 times some rate. We don't know the rate yet. So we'll just leave it as R. Okay, so let's simplify this part first. So 1,500 times 5, that would give us 7,500. Now think back to when we did where was it? With markups and discounts, right? If normally we would multiply these to get this, but now we have the opposite information, well, we would do the opposite operation. So instead of multiplying, we're going to divide. Okay, so we would take our 9375, divide it by 7,500. That would give us our rate. So 93.75 divided by 7,500 will give us a rate of 0.0125. But that's in decimal form, right? And we want the interest rate in percent form. So if we want to go the opposite direction, we would take our decimal, and we're going to multiply it by 100 to get the percent. Okay, let me scoot this up a little bit. So we're going to take our rate of 0.0125, multiply by 100, and we get 1.25%. Okay. So to answer our question here, the interest rate on Wyatt's account is 1.25%. And that would be our answer. Okay, hopefully that made sense. Again, the reason why we divided here was because we have the opposite information than when what we normally would have. And when we normally have this information, we multiply. So if we have the opposite information, we do the opposite operation. So we would divide instead of multiply. Okay, if you have questions on that one, let me know. If not, let's check number 3. So here we have Isabel. When Isabella was born, her parents put $30,000, that'd be nice, $3,000 into a college fund account that earned 7% simple interest. Find the total amount in the account after 18 years. So this one's slightly different too. Still using the same formula. So let's identify what we know here. We don't know the interest earned. We do know the principal amount, the initial amount put into the account. The rate we do know is 7%. The time we do know is 18 years. Okay, so let's substitute those into our formula and solve for the amount of interest earned. Remember, 7% we need in decimal form, so we would divide 7 by 100 to get 0.07. So if we do 3,000 times 0.07 times 18, we would get the amount of interest earned of $3,780. Now, that's not the question, though. Remember, the question says find the total amount in the account after the 18 years. So what we would want to do here is take our principal amount, the initial amount invested into the account, and add the interest. and that would give us our total. So let's do 3,000 plus 3,780. And there we go. So to answer the question, we would say the total in the account after 18 years is 6,780. Voila, we are done. If you have questions on that one, let me know. And the last one to check your work on, number 4. Remy borrowed $20,000 for 5 years to buy a car. If she paid $2,500 in interest, at what interest rate did she borrow the money? So let's think about what we know and what we want to know. We're actually given the interest paid, $2,500. The principal amount we were also given, $20,000. The rate is what we don't know. The time was 5 years. Okay, so let's put these into our formula. Okay, we don't know R yet. Let's simplify this part first. 20,000 times 5 would be $100,000. And again, on this one, we have the opposite information again. So instead of multiplying, we're going to do the opposite and divide. So if we do 2,500 divided by $100,000, we would get 0.025. But again, that's decimal form. We want it in percent form, right? So we would take that decimal just like we did before, multiply it by 100, and that would give us the percent. Okay, so the answer to the question then would be it has an interest rate of 2.5%. Okay, I went over those kind of quickly again because hopefully you did them on your own and you're just checking your work. And these are extremely similar to the markup and discounts we did the other day. So hopefully those weren't too difficult for you. They made sense. If not though, let me know and I'll try to help you out. Okay, now we're going to do an activity. Because a lot of you ask, well, why do we need to know simple interest? Well, in real life, you're going to deal with a lot of stuff with simple interest. So we're going to talk about purchasing a car. Okay, I would love it if you would comment on this assignment with what your dream car is. Okay. So think about these questions. What's your dream car? What kind of things should you consider before you purchase a car? And how do you even purchase a car, right? So think about these things before you move on. And I'll just tell you while you're thinking about it, I actually chose this picture because it's one of the cars that I would love to have. It's a Mustang Mach-E is the model. The E here is for electric. So it's a Mustang car. They call it the Mach-E because it's an electric car. So it's basically as cool as all your other Mustangs, but it's electric. So one, it saves the environment, which is incredible in itself. And 2, it's way faster. Electric cars are incredibly faster. So that would be such a fun car to drive. You should go look it up if you don't know what the Mustang cars are like. It's pretty freaking amazing. So there's one of my dream cars. What things do you think you should consider before purchasing a car? When I ask these this question, a lot of people will answer things like, price, right? Um, maybe environment things, so is it good for the environment, like an electric car or hybrid car? A lot of people, especially in Utah, will talk about, does it have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? This one, actually, this Mustang Mach-E, you can get all-wheel drive on it, so it'd be awesome in Utah. Um, if it's a used car, you might check out, like, mileage. You could check out gas mileage, so does it get good gas mileage? Or is it gonna be a gas guzzler? And then how do you even purchase a car? So let's talk about purchasing a car. So here's some other things you'd maybe want to consider when purchasing a car. Obviously, you guys aren't of the age where you need to worry about this, but you've probably thought about it. So when you go to purchase a car, there's a couple things to consider. The total cost of the car, the down payment. So down payment is basically some amount you pay on the car, and then the rest would be, I know you can't really read that, would be financed. Okay. What we mean by finance would be like a loan, right? So you're paying some amount, you're taking some amount off the total cost, and the rest of it would be on a loan. And the loan part is what would be charged interest. So, like an additional cost because you're borrowing money, right? And if you're like totally lost on this, don't worry, it's okay. You've got years to figure this out. Um, but I wanted to kind of introduce you to this concept, to show you that this math is actually applicable to the real world. Um, so the interest rates, right? That's going to affect how much you pay total. Right? We saw that interest can be an awesome thing, right? If you have, where's the 4,100 amount one? Yeah. Right? So if you're putting money into a bank and earning interest on it, it can be awesome, right? You can earn a ton of money. But it can also work the opposite way, right? If we were to borrow that amount of money and the interest charge rate is 3.25%, it means we're gonna be charged that much every year, right? So it can go against us, right, if we're borrowing money versus saving the money. Okay? So the interest rate can definitely affect how much we pay total. And another thing that affects that is the time of the loan, right? The longer you have the loan, the more interest you're accruing and the more you have to pay total. This will make a little more sense when we get to the actual examples. It would also affect the total cost and the monthly cost of the car. So, grab that purchasing a car worksheet, okay? And here's your scenario. You're in your last year of college, or we'll say maybe even your last year of high school, right? So you're 18. You have a part-time job. You decide to purchase your first car to be able to get to work and school faster. You've saved, this is key information here, you've saved $2,150 to give as a down payment for your car, and you're going to finance the rest, so get a loan for the rest of it. Our task is to complete the table on the front of the page by calculating the down payments, the interest, and the total cost of each car. And then you'll answer the questions on the back when you're done with that. So let's take a look at this. I'll go over the first one with you just so you kind of know what we're looking for and how to calculate these things. And then I'll let you do the rest of them. Okay. So I'm going to point out a few things first. Make sure that's small. Okay. So down payment. Down payment. Remember, down payment is the amount you're going to pay on the car, and the rest of it would be taken out as a loan, basically. So this is the amount you have in cash or check to pay. Okay. So a lot of places require a certain amount of down payment for you to actually get a car loan. Okay. Same with buying a house, right? A lot of times to get a house loan, you would have to pay a certain amount of down payment up front to even get the loan. Okay. So the down payment then, this is going to be 11% of the price of the car. Remember, of means multiply. So essentially what we're doing here is just like the markup amount or the discount amount. We're taking the total, so the original price, so the price of the car, and we're going to multiply it by that percent in decimal form. Oops. By that percent in decimal form. So essentially you're doing price times 0.11. Okay, so that's what you're going to do to calculate this column. So for example, the first car number 1 is a Honda Civic. Great car, awesome car for starting out, gets really good gas mileage. It's an awesome, safe car. So what you're going to do to calculate the 11% down payment on this one would be take that original amount, so the original price of $19,500, and we're going to multiply that by 0.11 for our 11%, and that would give us a total down payment of $2,145. Okay, so that's how much down payment we would have to pay in order to get a loan for this car. Okay, so if you couldn't pay that amount, we wouldn't be able to get this car. Okay. Interest rate and time. Interest rate and time. So these are the amounts you're going to use to calculate the interest using the I equals the principal amount, the rate, and the time. Okay. So that's basically what we were practicing on those other problems. So let's go over this first one. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. Let's go over this one as an example. Okay. So we don't know the interest amount. That's what we're trying to find, right? Actually, first things first, key thing to point out, this is after the down payment. So what we would actually want to do first to find the principal amount, because remember, we're using this formula here, to find the principal amount, actually, I'll write it up off to the side. To find the principal amount, you're going to take the original price, so the original price of the car, and subtract the down payment. So let's do that first. So the original price of the car was $19,500. We're going to subtract $2,145 because that was the down payment amount. And you'll get $17,355. So that's the principal amount that we're taking out for our loan. That's the amount of money we're borrowing to pay off the rest of the car. Okay, so now we're going to use this formula for the rest of it. Okay, we don't know the interest amount. That's what we're trying to find. We do know the principal amount, right? That's the amount we're borrowing that we just calculated. We do know the rate, the interest rate, it says right here, was 7%. Remember, 7% in decimal form would be 0.07. So we're going to multiply that by 0.07 and then multiply it by the time, which is 4 years. Okay, so the amount of interest that we're going to have to pay on top of the amount we're borrowing would be this amount. Okay, so let's multiply those. 17,355 times 0.07 times 4 will give us the interest amount of $4,859, and I cannot read my handwriting. I think it says 40 cents. Sure. So what does that mean? Well, it means you're paying you're paying 20 or $2,145 as a down payment, right? So you're paying that upfront in cash. You're borrowing the rest of the amount of the total price. So that's the amount you're borrowing. And because we're borrowing money from someone, they're going to charge us for borrowing that amount. And they're going to charge us a total of $4,859.40 over 4 years to borrow that amount. Charge for borrowing. So that's basically what the interest means here. We're being charged to borrow money, right? So the total cost for this car would be to calculate this, you would use the price of the car. Okay, so the total price plus the interest amount. Okay, so if the car is originally $19,500, we're going to add the amount we're being charged for borrowing money, $4,859.40, and the total cost of the car with the interest amount, so the charge for borrowing money, after 4 years would come to a total of $24,359.40. So, why are we learning this? Well, because later in life, when you get to borrowing a car, right, or buying a car, most of you will be taking out a car loan, right? You're not just going to have $20,000 lying around. You might, but most of you probably won't. So it's important to realize, well, yes, this car originally does cost $19,500, but when we're borrowing the money, we're going to end up paying a lot more than that, right? We're paying $24,400 basically. Okay? Almost $5,000 more than the original price of the car. So it's good to know these things and be able to compare different rates of cars, interest rates, prices of cars, and how long the loan is to see what the best deal is. Okay, so that's what we're doing for this assignment. Again, you would follow these exact same steps for each of the cars, right? So the down payment amount, again, is the price of the car multiplied by 0.11, so 11%. That would be this amount here. Okay, then you'll use this information to find this spot. Okay, and remember, follow the same steps that I did here, right? So we took the price of the car. What is happening? Hang on. Okay, so we took the price of the car. Subtracted the down payment, right? Because it's interest and we're using the price after down payment. So that's your first step. Then we would use this formula to find out the interest rate. So you take the price after the down payment, multiply it by the interest rate, and multiply it by the time. And that would give you the interest over time. For the total cost, remember it's the price plus the interest. So if you can't remember what to do, just rewind and watch me go through that example. Okay. So you'll basically do that for the rest of these cars. There's 7 cars total. So you're doing 6 of them because I already did number 1. Okay. And then on the back of that page, you're going to be answering these questions. Which cars can we afford based on the down payment? So remember, we only have $2,150 for the down payment. So which of those cars can we afford based on just the down payment alone? Which car has the highest monthly payment? So key thing for monthly payment. For monthly payment, you're going to take that total cost. You're going to look at the time in years. So let's say time in years, right? And if we're looking at monthly cost, well, there's 12 months in a year. So we would multiply that by 5, and that would give us the number of months that we're making payments. Okay. And then we would divide the total cost by the number of months. Okay. So, for example, on that first car example that we did, the total cost was $24,359.40. We're borrowing for 4 years. 4 years, so we multiply 4 times 12 to get the number of months, because there's 12 months in a year. We get 48 months. So we're gonna take $24,359.40 divided by 12, okay? And I don't have my calculator with me, but we can just pull up a calculator and do this together. Okay. So 24359.40 divided by 48 months. And we get 507. And remember, money has 2 decimal places, so $507.49. So that's how much we'd be paying per month over 4 years, which is a pretty significant amount, right? So you're gonna have to find the monthly payment for all of these to be able to compare and find out which one has the highest monthly payment, okay? If you have questions on that, let me know, but basically just follow those steps that I just did. Then you'll compare which one has the lowest monthly payment. Then I want you to talk about what things you should consider before purchasing a car. So it could be in general, or maybe there's some things that you specifically want in a car. Like it has to be really fast, or it has to be blue, or you want all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, that kind of thing. And then you're going to answer this question: which car would you buy based on price? So remember, we have the down payment you need to consider, because we only have $2,150 for the down payment, right? And then you would want to compare prices. Okay. So this is a little bit of an exploration assignment for you. If you have questions on it, please let me know. I'm sure your siblings or parents would be able to kind of give you some pointers on buying a car, right? Probably. If not, just ask me. Okay? So that assignment you'll be turning in the next Monday that there's a drop off. Okay? If you have questions, let me know. Hope you enjoyed the assignment. Maybe go look up some cool cars. Have fun with it. All right. Good luck, you guys.